Welcome to Healthy Mama Hacks, a weekly mini podcast where I share my best tips for hacking your healthy mama life with simple tips for easier eating, cooking, and living a healthy mama life in 20-ish minutes, about the time it takes you to fold a load of laundry. So let's do this, mama. Hey friends, welcome back to the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast, and welcome to another episode of Healthy Mama Hacks. Today is the third episode in my grocery guide series. The last couple of weeks we talked about my top 2 favorite grocery stores to shop at, Trader Joe's and Aldi, and today we are going to talk about a store that is often seen as more expensive or more elite. I know my husband used to joke about the fancy water aisle, which they've now kind of combined, but there literally used to be basically an entire aisle full of expensive bottled water. But it definitely does not have to be crazy expensive. And I think that it has stepped up in the last few years to be more accessible. However, it is more expensive for weekly groceries. So we rarely get our weekly groceries at Whole Foods, but I do tend to go to Whole Foods probably once a month. And we can actually reasonably get our weekly groceries there if I just don't want to bother with going to other grocery stores. Oftentimes I will pair it with a Trader Joe's trip because they're about 10 minutes away. They're kind of up in the same area, or at least one of them. We have 3 in our state. We only have one Trader Joe's. We have a few Aldi. But the one that I would go to is pretty close to Trader Joe's. So I do tend to go about once a month, especially for specialty items. But today, I don't just want to share specialty items with you guys. I want to share kind of like our everyday items that I would get at Whole Foods, as well as those specialty items. So I really want to share with you how I save money when I do go to Whole Foods and stay within our budget. So there are definitely items that we buy on the regular when we go to Whole Foods, so I'm going to share those with you guys, and I'll go through this exactly as I have the last couple of episodes. And I forgot to mention in the last episode, but there are grocery guides, printable grocery guides, to go along with each one of these episodes. So feel free to look into the show notes, and you can download that as well. So why I love Whole Foods? Okay, well, don't we all love Whole Foods a little bit? It is a beautiful store and they have a large variety of items. You can certainly get anything you need at Whole Foods. They also, because they are a specialty grocery store, they have high standards. And I talked in the first episode in this series about my food values, which include things like prioritizing high quality meat and dairy, especially kind of organic, grass-fed, mostly for hormone reasons. We like to buy organic when we can, but we're not crazy about it. Same thing with refined oils. We like to avoid refined oils, but we're not crazy about it. And we like to eat mostly whole foods, but we're all about balance. So shopping at a place like Whole Foods is a great place to do that because they are primarily a grocery store that sells products that are made with whole foods. But, you know, they also have processed items, and that's kind of how we eat. We start with those real whole foods, and then we bring in those processed items for fun and for snacks, and then, you know, also, of course, takeout in restaurants and things like that, right? So I also love that Whole Foods is pretty close to Trader Joe's and my parents, like I mentioned. So it's pretty accessible for me, not for weekly, but probably once a month to get those specialty items that I'm going to talk to you guys about today. It has items that the other stores I mentioned don't have. So Trader Joe's does not have Siete food tortillas, which is like the number one reason I go to Whole Foods, because they're crazy expensive at my local health food store. They also have, you know, items that Aldi doesn't have as well. So, and they have things like supplements and beauty care products as well that are oftentimes, and I'll share why, less expensive than getting them online or getting them at the local health food store. I love to support local businesses as much as I can, but we also need to stick within our budget. So I've talked about this, but we try and balance that. Same thing with farmers markets. I like to shop at the local health food store, but if I can save $10 at Whole Foods, then I'm going to save that $10. So it's pretty accessible for me. They've got high standards. It has items other stores don't have, and they are oftentimes more environmentally friendly in terms of a lot of their packaging. especially when it comes to produce items. A lot of their produce items you can buy in bulk. You can put them in paper bags if you want to. I bring my reusable produce bags, but they're not super heavily packaged like a lot of the items at Trader Joe's and Aldi's are. So I do like that about them as well. Now, I've been saving tips and tricks until the end in the other episodes, but I do want to just kind of briefly share how we stick to a budget at Whole Foods before I share these do's and don'ts, which will also help you stick to whatever budget you have at Whole Foods. But the number one way that we stick to a budget at Whole Foods, or I guess the number one and number two ways. The number one way is that we are not going and just shopping with a list of all of our groceries for the week. We're going with a specific purpose. So I have my list, but I know that if there are items I can get less expensive other places, I just won't buy them there. And I'm sticking to the items I know are less expensive at Whole Foods. So I'm really intentional first and foremost when I shop at Whole Foods. And the second way is that I shop the sales, especially for those specialty items. And I will stock up on specialty items when they are on sale at Whole Foods. So those items I can't get other places. I try to still not buy them full price. And I also have Amazon Prime, which is a tip I'll mention at the end, which means that I save extra as well. So I'm really intentional when I shop at Whole Foods. We don't often do our full grocery shopping at Whole Foods. We joke that it's called whole paycheck because it is very expensive when you are trying to shop just, willy-nilly, not looking at sales, just buying whatever. But it doesn't have to be expensive when you're shopping the sales and when you're utilizing just some kind of a general guide to the do's and don'ts of shopping at Whole Foods. So here are my do's and don'ts of shopping at Whole Foods. Now, I will say that in terms of quality, I haven't really had a lot of quality issues at Whole Foods. Their produce is beautiful. I've always had success when I've bought meat there. Their packaged items, they're pretty darn good. So I am really in this episode focusing kind of on budget for the most part when it comes to Whole Foods, and also the specialty items that we love, of course. So in the other episodes, I shared kind of some of my opinions on quality of different items, but for the most part, they do have pretty high standards, so their quality is pretty darn good. But, budget's the biggest concern when it comes to Whole Foods. That's what I'm going to be focusing on most. So let's talk about some of the do buys at Whole Foods. My first do buy is greens. So spinach in the tub, like the big 16-ounce tub, at my store is only $4.99, which is really inexpensive and less expensive than pretty much anywhere else. And because I love to use spinach in my smoothies and then in other dishes as well, I always buy spinach when I go to Whole Foods because it's such a great deal. And they also have a ton of beautiful greens that are not in the tubs. So things like kale. Their kale is a really good price, both organic and non-organic. They've got Swiss chard. They've got collard greens. They've got bok choy. They have so many different greens. And like I said, their produce is really well maintained. And they also oftentimes have a lot of local produce. So number one is greens. Number two is local produce. Oftentimes the local produce is right up front. Oftentimes it's on sale or less expensive because it's what's local and what is in season. So this is similar to what Trader Joe's has started doing now, but Whole Foods has been doing it for a long time. So do buy greens, do buy local produce. Carrots. Okay, you can buy carrots in bulk at Whole Foods. You can buy a lot of produce items in bulk, which actually makes it a really great way to save because you don't need to buy an entire bag of jalapenos. You can buy one for like 16 cents instead of buying a ton of them. Same thing with mushrooms, but carrots I find are just a really good deal. They have like the big kind of juicing style carrots. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but they are like when I used to work at a holistic nutritionist studio, we would make certain juices and you would buy like the big carrots that would like go through the juicer really easily and make a ton of juice all at once instead of putting a million of the tiny little ones in there. So they have carrots in bulk, but then their packaged carrots are also really inexpensive. And I don't know why they're so inexpensive, but they are. So we get carrots there a lot. They have fresh herbs and they have a huge selection of fresh herbs, and they also have fresh herbs in bulk. So you don't just have to buy them in those little tiny plastic containers. Yes, they still have those. And there are some specialty herbs that I will get in those little containers, but They have parsley, they have cilantro, they have dill, they have mint, they have those basic herbs all in bulk. And so I like that. And the pricing is really good on those as well. The next thing that is a do buy at Whole Foods is bulk items. Now, in the climate of the world right now, our bulk items are still for the most part prepackaged right now, just because of, everything that's going on. However, I'm confident that they will move back to bulk items eventually, or to true bulk where you can buy just what you need. So buying just what you need or stocking up are both great ways to save using bulk. So if you have one recipe that has farro and you don't use farro a ton, I do recommend the 10-minute farro from Trader Joe's. I recommended that in the last episode. But if you're like, I just want to try it out, I don't know if I love it, you can buy 1 cup's worth instead of buying a whole package of it. And that's just one example because it's something that we love, but we don't use a ton, so it tends to stick around in our pantry for a while. But things like oats, which we eat quite a bit of and I bake with, or things like bulk nuts. So I do tend to buy nuts at Trader Joe's, and I will also buy them at Thrive Market, which is what I'm going to talk about next week. But it's also awesome to be able to get bulk almonds and to make almond milk and energy balls and things like that. And so the bulk items I find for either that, just getting what you need so you don't need to buy a big package that you might not use, and then also stocking up on items that you do use on the regular is awesome. And they've got a great bulk section. So I used to also buy spices in bulk, but they took it away from my store. So now I buy my spices in bulk at Thrive Market. But I don't know. I don't know if your store might still have spices in bulk. That was awesome. I loved doing that because I would just refill my containers and it was much less expensive. So if you have that, definitely utilize that. It's a great way to save money and to get all of the spices you want for really flavorful meals. The next do buy at Whole Foods is frozen veggies and fruit. I find that they have a wide variety of frozen vegetables and just simple frozen vegetables. Some of our go-tos are their cauliflower rice, their California blend vegetables, their stir-fry blend vegetables, their edamame, and they also have basics like broccoli and corn and peas, and we tend to buy those if we haven't bought them at Trader Joe's. And their prices are pretty darn good on frozen vegetables and frozen fruit as well. And they have huge bags of frozen fruit. So we tend to buy the big bags of frozen blueberries. And I find they're just a little bit smaller because I do have a small freezer than what you would buy at like a Costco or a BJ's. So I tend to buy them at Whole Foods because you're buying them in bulk, but you're not buying so much that it takes up half your freezer. So I really like their frozen items. Now, obviously the frozen kind of prepackaged meals and things like that are a little bit more expensive. Just in general because they're prepackaged. But sometimes we'll buy frozen waffles. Sometimes we'll buy frozen gluten-free bread because I do eat mostly gluten-free, things like that. But for the most part, we just kind of stick to the frozen fruit and the frozen vegetables. Okay, let me add one more frozen item to the mix though. Specialty ice cream. Oh, Whole Foods is the place to go for specialty ice cream. Yes, Trader Joe's has some yummy ice creams, but they have the Talenti gelato, which I love. They have Jenny's ice cream. They have a bunch of local brands of gelato and ice cream, and they also have a really great selection of dairy-free ice cream. So the So Delicious cashew milk and coconut milk are my favorite dairy-free ice creams. And I've mentioned this before, but I'm pretty low dairy. I love dairy and I still eat it. But when there is a just as satisfying dairy-free option, I'll go with it as well. So they've got a great selection of specialty ice creams. Maybe not always less expensive, but they've got a good selection. Basic nut butters and peanut butter are also great items to get at Whole Foods. They're a pretty good deal if you're just looking for the basics. Now, the specialty nut butters, those are on my don't list. Those are definitely more expensive. But your basic peanut butter, almond butter, you can also buy them in pretty big jars. And when they were doing bulk, you can also buy them in bulk freshly ground, which are pretty delicious as well. I don't think those are any less expensive, to be honest. I don't think I've done probably like price per ounce, but the basic nut butters are pretty good and you get them in pretty big jars as well. Supplements and beauty items. They have a large supplement section and a pretty extensive like natural more natural beauty section. And when those items are on sale, they are often a really good deal, especially if you have Amazon Prime. So we tend to get a lot of our supplements from Whole Foods when they're hosting their supplement sales, and we will stock up then because you save with their sale and you also save by utilizing Amazon Prime. And I'll buy some beauty items there too, things like deodorant, or like shaving cream, especially when they're on sale. Those are a little bit less expensive, but I don't tend to buy those things full price, but it is a do buy when they're on sale. Specialty baking items. This is a great place to get specialty baking items like specialty flours. You can find things like spelt flour and einkorn flour and almond flour and coconut flour and different sugars like coconut sugar. And so you can get a lot of those items at Whole Foods that you can't necessarily get at a lot of other places. So that's a good place to get those things. You can also buy a lot of those things online at Thrive. You can buy them on Amazon, but I find you have to buy like a 25-pound bag of almond flour to make it worth it. So if you only need a little bit of that, then Whole Foods is a good place. And they do oftentimes have sales as well. Not as often. Oftentimes it's around holidays that I notice that they have sales on baking items, but you can find most of what you need in the baking section, which is really nice. So specialty baking items are a do buy at Whole Foods. Specialty condiments are a do buy at Whole Foods if you want items that you, again, may not be able to find other places. Like they've got a good selection of salad dressings. Like I love their Tessemae salad dressings and their Primal Kitchen salad dressings. And so I'll pick those up if I don't feel like making my own. And I'm kind of 50-50 with that. I love making my own, but it's fun to have someone else make it for me as well. And again, when they're on sale, I'll pick those up. And then specialty condiments, they have a pretty good Asian food section as well. So if you're looking for specialty items that might be a little bit harder to find, a lot of kind of standard grocery stores have those items now. I know that one of ours is much better than the other kind of in my local area, but you can definitely find a lot of specialty condiments you might not be able to find at other places at Whole Foods as well. They're also really great for dairy-free items. So if you are looking for dairy-free cheeses like Kite Hill and Treeline, and there's a lot of local companies as well. I'm trying to think of other companies. Mykonos is a great company. So they've got a lot of dairy-free. They've got a great selection of dairy-free yogurts, dairy-free milk. So if you desire to be dairy-free or you need to be dairy-free, they've got a good selection of dairy-free items. Their tofu is really inexpensive as well, so that's a good thing to buy at Whole Foods. Their meat might be a do buy for you at Whole Foods. So I find that, yes, the meat is definitely more expensive, but they do have great deals on bulk meat. So if we are kind of in between our Butcher Box orders, sometimes we'll go and they'll have packages. It's like, 3 pounds of chicken breast or chicken tenders or chicken thighs, or sometimes they'll do like packs of ground beef, things like that are on sale. They're pretty comparable to Trader Joe's and Butcher Box if they're on sale or you're buying them in bulk, maybe a little bit more expensive. And the other thing I like about meat is that they do have a whole butcher section. So you can go and you can get just the amount you need without feeling like you need to get a ton of meat. So if you are just making enough for 2, you can go and you can get 2 steaks, or you can get 1 pound of stew meat, or you can ask them to cut a smaller piece of brisket or something like that. So I do like the meat for that, and their standards are pretty high, and they have like different levels to standards. So depending on your comfort level when it comes to the type of meat and the quality of meat you want to buy, you can kind of go by their ratings. I think it's like a 1 through 4 rating. I'm not exactly sure how the ratings go because we don't go too crazy with that. But yeah, that could be it could be a do for you, but it all depends on your budget and what you're looking for. We buy meat at Whole Foods, like I said, sometimes, and it's for those 2 reasons. We're either in between and we want we want a few packs of chicken breasts because I love to make shredded chicken. You guys have seen me do this in the Instant Pot during my meal prep because I use it in a million different things. And we just need a smaller quantity of something. That's typically when we buy meat at Whole Foods. So it's a might do. And then the rotisserie chicken is a do, I think, when it's on sale. They've got a great selection of rotisserie chicken. They have different seasoning blends. They have like a brined chicken, which is really, really tasty. They have a garlic herb. They have like a more spicy one. I can't remember exactly if it's like, Cajun or Chipotle or something like that, but it's pretty tasty. When they're on sale, they're pretty inexpensive. The organic ones are more expensive, but I love getting a rotisserie chicken sometimes and just using that for lunches during the week, or even having it as a quick dinner with some roasted veggies or some salad on the side for a really quick meal. So I think that's a do from Whole Foods as well. So let's talk about some of the don'ts. Prepackaged vegetables, just like anywhere, are definitely more expensive. So we tend to not buy the prepackaged vegetables at Whole Foods. I find canned tuna and canned salmon are definitely more expensive at Whole Foods, so I don't buy them there. I'd rather buy those at either Trader Joe's or Thrive Market. They're just regular condiments like mayonnaise, and the mustard and ketchup are pretty inexpensive, but a lot of their condiments are more expensive, I find. Shredded and string cheese tend to be a little bit more expensive than Trader Joe's and Aldi, so I tend to avoid those unless, again, there's a good sale. The cheese can definitely be more expensive. I should have put that in the do's. Actually, specialty cheeses are a do if there are ones you're looking for, because they have a great cheese selection, but they are definitely more expensive. But I will give you my special cheese trick at the end. If you haven't heard me talk about this, it's awesome. Coffee is definitely more expensive and tea is definitely more expensive, but yes, you can also find some brands you might not be able to find other places. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for, but overall, if you're looking for a deal, coffee and tea tend to be more expensive. I already mentioned specialty nut butters. These are more expensive. And just a lot of their packaged items, when they're not on sale, or the 365 brand, which is their store brand, they are more expensive. So things like snack foods. But yes, if you are looking for specialty snacks, you can definitely find those at Whole Foods. So I would say that is a do. And then I don't find their breads to be any less expensive. So I've heard some people get bread at Whole Foods, but I think it's more expensive. So I think that's a don't. And then salad bar. If you're talking about budget, the salad bar / like pre-prepared foods, we know that they're more expensive, but they're delicious. So they're fun to buy sometimes, especially when we can actually pick our own again, which it's not like that at my Whole Foods yet, but one day we can go and spend half of our paycheck on salad bar at Whole Foods. Those will be good days. So let's talk about staple items, the things that I buy pretty much every time I go to Whole Foods, and then I'll share with you my top 10 and then a few tips and tricks. So similar to Trader Joe's, if I'm not going to Trader Joe's or to Aldi, I will get my basics like lemons, onions, sweet potatoes. I find those pretty comparable to Trader Joe's. I will always buy on sale or in-season produce. They oftentimes have really good sales on things like berries, and then again in-season items when they're on sale. So I will always buy sale and in-season produce items. Dried beans and grains, like I mentioned, in bulk typically. Nuts and dried fruit in bulk. I mentioned I used to buy spices, if that's available to you. If it was still available to me, I would absolutely stock up on my spices at Whole Foods. Pasta when it's on sale, especially Banza pasta, because that's our favorite chickpea pasta. Canned beans we'll get at Whole Foods because they're pretty comparable to Trader Joe's as well. Again, if we're not going there, then we'll get them at Whole Foods. Snacks for the kids, we will definitely get at Whole Foods, especially when they're on sale. We try to gravitate to the ones on sale. Sometimes we'll let the kids pick up something, but they are typically more expensive. So we'll get on sale snacks for the kids. So some of the things that they really love from Whole Foods, they have their own brand of these little like cheddar ducks. They're definitely not a health food, but they're really yummy and the kids love them. So they're kind of like goldfish, but they're ducks. So they like those. We have these crackers, not Siete. We'll get to that soon. But Simple Mills crackers, they have these crackers called Maverick, and they look like little lightning bolts, and the kids really like those. They sometimes we'll get things like applesauce there, but it's definitely more expensive. Though the little pre-packaged raisins are a good item to throw in the lunchbox, so we'll get those for my youngest. We will also get meat sticks, like the new Primal meat sticks for my kids. Those are good protein-rich snacks, so those are kind of our go-tos for snacks for the kids. I will get real salt from Whole Foods if I haven't gotten it at Thrive. I will get frozen chicken nuggets. We'll get frozen chicken nuggets at Whole Foods to keep in the freezer for a quick I can't even dinner for the kids especially. They love the ones that are shaped like dinosaurs because, well, it's fun. You can eat their tail, you can eat their head. It's fun. And they're just a little bit better ingredients at Whole Foods, so we tend to buy them from there. We buy deli meat when it's on sale at Whole Foods because you can buy it in bulk and it's pretty good prices when it's on sale. When it's not on sale, I find it's a bit more expensive, but we will buy deli meat when it's on sale if we happen to be there. For us, I think it's Sunday. That's the day when it's on sale. So we'll buy deli meat from there. And like I mentioned, we will pretty much always buy a rotisserie chicken if we're making the trek up to Whole Foods, just because we usually go on the rotisserie chicken sale day. So top 10 items that I love, more specialty, fun items at Whole Foods. Okay. Number 1, Siete tortillas. I love Siete tortillas, and they're also corn-free, which for my oldest daughter, who is sensitive to corn, is huge. So we always stock up on Siete tortillas. My favorite is the almond flour. I also love the cashew flour. Their newer chickpea flour ones are good. Cassava flour are really good too, but they do tend to crumble more faster. So I love using these in my enchiladas. And you know what? Now that I've talked about it, I will link to my shredded chicken and my enchilada recipe down below. By the way, you can also get the Frontera enchilada sauce at Whole Foods, which is my favorite. I typically get it at Thrive Market because it's less expensive there, but it is sometimes on sale at Whole Foods. And those are my absolute favorite enchilada sauces. I will only use the Frontera enchilada sauces because I also have a chef crush on Rick Bayless. This is not a secret. Everyone knows this. I love his food. But Siete tortillas for everything from quesadillas to enchiladas to to egg wraps. I love making egg wraps in the morning, like kind of breakfast burritos. And then just wraps during the week. We love Siete tortillas. So we stock up on those. Yes, they're more expensive when they're on sale. We buy an embarrassing amount. Number 2, Kite Hill cream cheese. Oh my gosh. It's a dairy-free cream cheese made from almonds, and it is so tasty. So we always stock up on the Kite Hill cream cheese. I also do sometimes get other dairy-free cheeses, but they're usually a little bit more expensive. So it's usually like a special occasion that I'll get those. But the Kite Hill cream cheese, it's so good. It's good on one of those gluten-free everything bagels that I mentioned from Aldi in the last episode. It's really good on a wrap, on one of those Siete tortilla wraps. It's really good just dipping Simple Mills crackers in Kite Hill cream cheese is one of my favorite snacks. And then let's talk about the Siete chips. They're so good. They're corn-free chips made from cassava flour. I believe the standard is made from cassava flour, and they're just really tasty, and we love those. And again, if they're on sale, we stock up on an embarrassing amount. You can sometimes get these at Thrive Market, but they're also oftentimes sold out, so we will definitely stock up on those at Whole Foods. Good bug kefirs for the kids. That's number 4. We get these every time we go to Trader Joe's. They are not they're not environmentally friendly at all when it comes to packaging because they're individual packaged. But the kids love them. They're lower sugar kefirs. They also like the Kite Hill squeezable, they're kind of like Go-Gurts, but they're a dairy-free yogurt, and the kids love those as well. But so we'll either buy one or the other, the Good Bug kefirs or the Kite Hill, which you can only buy there. I've never seen them at any other grocery store. The kind of Kite Hill squeezable yogurts, they're great for just a quick and easy breakfast option that's got a little bit of protein in it. I think they've got a little bit of fat in them too, some fruit in there. And they've got those probiotics. So those are, the kids get so excited when we go to Whole Foods because they're like, kefirs. And I'm like, okay, if my kids are going to get excited about kefirs, then that's awesome. The TB12 protein powder. This is not just because I'm a New Englander. I think I need to do a Healthy Mama Hacks protein powders guide because this is probably the number one question I get asked whenever I post a smoothie on Instagram is, what protein powder do you use? And the truth is that I mix my protein powders up. I either get them at Thrive Market, and when I talk about Thrive Market, I will share with you the protein powders that I get from there. But the TB12, which is Tom Brady's protein powder, I know he's not a New England player anymore, but he was. He has a great plant-based protein powder. It is my favorite plant-based protein powder. The ingredients are really simple. I think it's just pea protein and stevia and maybe salt. I don't have a package in front of me to look at, but the flavor is really good and I just really like it. So I get that at Whole Foods because I don't think you can get it anywhere else around here except online. Unreal chocolate. Oh my gosh, you guys, you can also get Hugh Kitchen chocolate, which I like, but it's more expensive at Whole Foods. But if I'm going to get chocolate at Whole Foods, the Unreal chocolate, they're kind of like M&Ms. and the ingredients are just a little bit better. They're so good. And so we love to get those for a little treat, especially if we're watching a movie. Also for the kids, Love Grown Foods cereal. So they have a bean-based cereal that is corn-free, and the kids really enjoy those. The Birch Benders Paleo Pancake Mix. Can I make my own pancakes? Yes. Do I sometimes? Yeah. But we love this one, and all you have to do is add water to it, and the ingredients are really great. And so we tend to stock up on that as well because it's fun to have Pancake Sunday. It's even more fun to not have to put together the ingredients yourself. Okay. This is my favorite prepared food item, the smoked mozzarella pasta salad. If you haven't tried this was my number one craving when I was pregnant with my youngest daughter. I would go up to Whole Foods probably every week just to get the smoked mozzarella pasta salad. I loved it so much, and I can't believe I still love it now, but I do. So in the summertime, one of our favorite things to do is to grab a bagged salad, the smoked mozzarella pasta salad, and a rotisserie chicken. And we will sit outside, and that will be our dinner that we'll have kind of on the it's not a patio, it's a deck, but or a balcony, whatever it's called. We'll sit outside and have that, and that's a really quick and easy dinner that we didn't have to actually do anything for. So that is my favorite prepared food item. And then last but not least, I love getting Ollipops and Poppies at Whole Foods. Okay, so if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're like, Ollie, what? Ollipop and Poppy have come out in the last, I want to say year or a couple of years, or over around here in New England, at least in my neck of the woods. They've probably only been around for a year, but they're both prebiotic sodas. And I used to be a huge soda person. I used to love it. And I'll still have a Zevia on occasion. And I used to drink tons and tons and tons of Diet Dr. Pepper. Sometimes I would do Coke Zero. I would drink a lot of soda. And I still love the kind of the fizziness of it. It's a fun treat. But these are lower sugar, so they don't have weird sugar-free substitutes or anything like that. I think they might have some stevia or monk fruit or something like that in them. I'm sure they do because they're definitely sweet, but they're not overly sweet. So they're low sugar, and they also have prebiotics in them. So they're actually good for your gut. And they taste delicious. And I love both of the brands. And so I will get a few of those for fun treats at Whole Foods as well. You can get them at my local health food store, but they're more expensive there. So that's when I tend to get them. So those are my top 10 favorite things to buy when we go to Whole Foods. And some tips and tricks. I already mentioned this, but they have really great sales. So I always check the sales online and make a list based on what is on sale. And then if you have Amazon Prime, you get 10% off everything that's on sale. So that's an additional 10% off. So no, I don't work for Whole Foods or Amazon, but yeah, you get an additional 10% off. So it's a really good deal for any sort of sales, because if it's already 20% off, then you're actually getting 30% off if you have Prime. And there's just an app and you just scan the barcode. So I love that. And I've saved $30 sometimes on things if I'm buying supplements and beauty items and things like that. Second tip is to utilize their 365 brand, which is their store brand. Pretty much everything with their store brand is less expensive than if you were to buy the name brand item. So utilize that because there are a lot of savings with their 365 brand. Buy your produce in bulk instead of prepackaged. I already mentioned that the prepackaged vegetables are always a little bit more expensive, but they do have pretty good prices when you buy, and you can just buy what you need. Again, you can buy one sweet potato instead of needing to buy a whole bag and have the rest of the bag go bad. So I really like that. They have a supplement sale and a beauty sale. I want to say it's once a year each, but it might be twice a year each. And they kind of alternate. And when they have the supplement sale and the beauty sale, that's when we stock up on the supplement items and the personal care products that we love. Because they're on sale, and then you also get that Prime on top of it if you have Amazon Prime. So we will stock up on those things once or twice a year. They have special sales on certain items in their store once a week as well. So like I mentioned, the rotisserie chicken is on sale once a week. The deli meat's on sale once a week. And pizza is on sale once a week. That's a good day. Also, you can get 2 slices of pizza for $7, and they're giant slices of pizza, like enough for 2 small kids. So you can get lunch for yourself and 2 small kids for $7, which is pretty good when your kids are starving and you've made it all the way through Whole Foods and you're about to check out and they're like, I'm hungry. Pizza time. And last but not least, my cheese trick. If you want a delicious and fancy feeling charcuterie board, this is great for date night. Whole Foods has a beautiful cheese selection, but it is, very high quality cheese, and they're often very expensive. We're talking like $30 a pound cheese. What they do is when they slice their cheeses up, because they do it in-house, they will often have little leftover end pieces. They wrap those up and they sell them to you at, I don't even think they're at a discount, but they're just little tiny pieces. So you can get a piece of $30 a pound cheese, like this little tiny sliver, for like $2. And they have a basket of them over to the side in the cheese section that I am sure they like throw away every couple of days because people don't buy them and they don't last very long. So I go and I will gather like, $12 worth of cheese, and if we were to buy those like in the regular pieces, it would be like $40 worth of cheese. And we will have this delicious charcuterie board with some Simple Mills crackers and some delicious nuts and dried fruit from Trader Joe's. Don't forget the Marcona almonds and the fig jam and the hot and sweet pepper jelly. Those things we already keep on hand. Easy cheese board, charcuterie board, whatever you want to call it, because charcuterie is technically meat. But you guys, you need to try this. The next time you go, if you're a cheese fan, go and find the cheese basket, stock up on some delicious specialty cheeses for really, really inexpensive. That's my cheese trick. Please tag me on Instagram when you go ahead and make your inexpensive cheese board. I hope you love it. Okay, friends, that is my Whole Foods grocery guide, how we shop at Whole Foods and save money. Again, we don't shop for our weekly groceries at Whole Foods, but we do buy specialty items there, which I shared with you. And there are ways to save at Whole Foods, and we get some really, really good deals at Whole Foods. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this grocery guide series. Don't forget to download the printable grocery guide in the show notes. If this was helpful, if there are Whole Foods items that I missed that you were like, oh my gosh, Chris, you have to try this next time you go to Whole Foods, tag me over on Instagram at HealthyMamaChris or send me a DM. I would love to connect with you. And don't forget to join us in the Healthy Balanced Mamas Facebook community, facebook.com/group/HealthyBalanceMamas. Let's talk about our favorite items at Whole Foods. Let's talk about how you save at Whole Foods. I would love your tips and tricks as well. Okay, friends, have a beautiful weekend, and I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast. If you loved it, would you take a screenshot and share it with a friend over on Instagram and tag me in it? It helps me so much to know what you love and are taking away from each episode. If you really loved it, would you hop over to iTunes and give me a star rating and review? Every rating and review helps this podcast be seen and heard by more women who need to hear the message of balance and wellness without deprivation. It's the best free gift you could give me. And as a reminder, the information and opinions on this podcast are meant for education and inspiration only and are not to be taken as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult with a trusted practitioner before making any changes. Have a beautiful day, friend, and I'll see you in the next episode.